The day I found out, I wasn't at a courtroom. I wasn't in some dramatic confrontation. I was standing in my own kitchen, in my pajamas, holding a letter forwarded to my address. My name was on the outside, but the moment I opened it, I knew something was very wrong. Because what was inside that envelope was a story I recognized. Every detail, every turning point, every private, painful thing I had only ever told one person. My best friend had been building a life using the raw material of mine. My setbacks, my contacts, my ideas, my most vulnerable moments, sent to a publisher. And she'd been doing it quietly, carefully, for 7 years. 7 years. So stay with me. Because if you think you know where this story goes, was the confrontation, the breakdown, the falling out, set that aside. It didn't go there. Her name was Claire. And before any of this, before I knew what I know now, she was genuinely one of the best people I thought I had ever met. We met sophomore year of college, stuck next to each other in a statistics class. She borrowed my pen on the first day and never gave it back. By the end of that semester, we were the kind of friends who don't need to make plans. You just show up, and the other person is always glad you did. She was my first call when I got a promotion, my first text when something went wrong. For years, she was the person I measured every other relationship against. When my mother got sick, Claire drove 3 hours to sit with me in a hospital waiting room. She didn't ask if I needed her. She just came. There was a night I called her at 2 a.m. and said I couldn't sleep. She came over, sat with me on my kitchen floor, and stayed until the sun came up. She was my person. The kind you don't find twice, and I was hers. Or at least, that's what I believed for a very long time. What I didn't understand then was that while I was being her emergency contact, her +1, her confidant, she was watching me with a completely different kind of attention. Not the warm kind, not the kind where you pay attention because you care, the kind where you pay attention because you're building something and you need the right materials. She noticed which of my clients lit up when I walked in the room, which ones sent thank you notes, which ones would have followed me anywhere. She memorized the name of my mentor, his background, his preferences, the story of how we met, told once over dinner without thinking twice. I always said Claire was the best listener I'd ever known. It took me 7 years to understand what she was actually listening for. The first sign I almost caught, she applied for a job at the firm I'd been quietly working toward for 2 full years. She got an interview. She asked me to help her prepare. I gave her everything, the questions, the angles, the stories that land. She got the job. I threw her a party. I told myself I was proud of her. Maybe part of me was. But there was something else underneath, a feeling I kept pushing down every time it tried to surface. A few months later, she connected with my mentor on LinkedIn. She didn't tell me. I found out the way you find things out now by seeing a notification that made my stomach drop, you know. He started including her in things. Industry dinners, private roundtables, rooms I had spent years trying to get into, rooms I had helped him build. I noticed all of it, every dinner I wasn't invited to, every introduction I wasn't part of. I kept account. And I said nothing. Then there was the project, an idea I had sketched out over dinner one night, thinking out loud the way you do with someone you trust. 6 months later, it existed without me. She had pitched it herself, with her name on it, to the very clients I had personally introduced her to, back when I thought I was just being a good friend. And even then, even after all of it, I gave her the benefit of the doubt, because she was my person, and you don't give up on your person easily. I told myself ambition can look like theft when you're standing too close to it. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself a lot of things to avoid seeing what was right in front of me. I was careful. I was measured. I kept my feelings to myself and kept showing up for her the same way I always had. For much, much too long. We're at the 5-minute mark. Pay attention now, because this is where everything shifts. What I'm about to tell you is why I'm still standing. The letter in my kitchen was from a publishing house, a real one, and it was a response to a book proposal submitted in Claire's name. A memoir-style proposal about recovering from professional betrayal, written in first person, using specific details, dates, decisions, feelings that could only have come from me. It had been forwarded to my address by accident. One small clerical error by the publisher's assistant that unraveled 7 years in about 30 seconds. I sat down on the kitchen floor, right there, not crying, not yet, just sitting with the weight of it, letting the full shape of it finally come into focus. All those moments that never quite made sense, the job, the mentor, the project, the distance, they stopped being separate. They started being a pattern, like tumblers in a lock, each one clicking into place, until the whole mechanism was visible, clear, complete, and impossible to unsee. I did not call her that night. I know that's what you expected, but something in me said, don't react. Not yet. Think first. I gave myself 2 weeks. I went back through everything, emails, timestamps, saved messages, documents I hadn't known I was keeping until I suddenly needed them. I recorded a dinner we had during that window. She talked freely about the book, the direction, the timeline, the themes. She had no idea I was now the one taking notes. I also found out she had told my mentor I was stepping back from the industry, that I needed space, while quietly positioning herself as his most reliable contact. When I had everything I needed, I sent it to the publisher, the original idea, the timestamps, the recording, a polite letter, no accusations, just the truth, documented. I copied my lawyer on everything, and then, only then, I picked up the phone. And for the first time in 2 weeks, I called Claire. She picked up on the second ring. Her voice was warm, normal, like any other call in 7 years. She had absolutely no idea. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't lead with anything dramatic. I just said, very quietly. The publisher contacted me, and then I waited. What followed was a silence I will never forget. Long enough to count the seconds, long enough to be its own confession, long enough to confirm everything. Then the explanation started. It was inspired by our conversations. It was meant to be collaborative. She was going to tell me. It was a misunderstanding. I let her finish. Every word, every pivot, every reframe. I didn't interrupt once. And when she was done, I said, I'm not calling to fight, Claire. I'm calling so you know that I know. And so do they. The book deal fell through within the week. The publisher withdrew completely. Everything she had built from borrowed material came down quickly and quietly. 3 weeks later, a new letter arrived, addressed correctly this time. The publisher wanted to know if I had a story of my own that I'd be willing to tell. My mentor stopped responding to Claire's messages. No scene, no statement. He just quietly redirected and started answering mine again the same week. 2 of the clients she had pitched to, using my work, my ideas, reached out to me directly. They wanted to build something with me this time. I never launched a campaign against her. I never posted publicly. I just showed up clearly, consistently as myself and let the rest follow. The scaffolding she built from borrowed pieces had no foundation underneath it. It never did. It just took one misdirected envelope to let gravity do its job. I'm not telling you this story so you'll be angry on my behalf. That anger would just be weight you don't need to carry. I've moved past the anger. It took time, but anger is heavy, and I've carried heavier things than one person's decision to mistake my life for a ladder. The reason I'm telling you this is because right now, somewhere in this audience, someone is sitting with their own version of Claire, a person who knows too much, who's been too quiet for too long. You don't have to blow anything up. You don't have to make it a war. You just have to stop being so generous with the map to your life. That's all. That's all for today. If you want to know what came next, the publisher, what happened between me and Claire, hit subscribe. This story has more chapters. This is Nova. And remember, karma never forgets. It doesn't need to hurry. It just needs time. And time, it always has.